Hello everybody, back once again with another video. So this one a ranking of my Lars von Trier, I always call it. Might be Trier. He's Danish, so I'm guessing it's pronounced Trier. Um, yeah, not got too many by him. Quite a controversial director, not so much for his films, but I think he's come out recently with some like Nazi kind of statements. Can't remember exactly what he said, but anybody supporting that, even if he's trying to be edgy. With certain other things, I think, if you make an edgy joke, like say Frankie Boyle style, it's quite controversial, but I don't really get offended by anything. But I think if you're actually seriously like a neo-Nazi, then you're scum. And if you're doing it to be edgy, which I know Lars von Trier does try to be an edgelord, then it's not just like some things where you joke about, like, I don't know, somebody's like appearance or something. It's like one of the things you shouldn't joke about because 6 million Jews or whatever died in the Nazi campaign, so it's just not funny to like use that as anything other than like serious subject that should be heeded through history as a warning of how not to go down that course as humans. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to preface it with saying don't really support this guy. A bit like Roman Polanski, there's quite a few sort of wrong uns out there that I kind of try and separate the art from the artist. So I still watch these, and with the say Lars von Trier's films, because they are kind of disturbing and controversial, it kind of, when you watch them, not only do you think, yeah, I can see this guy's probably a piece of shit in real life, but also it sounds weird, but it kind of adds a bit of like darkness to the film where you're like, yeah, this guy is messed up. He's not just a nice guy trying to make a horror film because he loves it, or say I was to make a film, try and make it really disturbing. For instance, Ruggero Deodato that made Cannibal Holocaust probably isn't going around killing people and slaughtering animals every day in real life and enjoying it. It's just a film. Whereas, yeah, I think maybe there's a bit more to like the allegories and metaphors in some of these where he is a real piece of shit. But Nymphomaniac volumes 1 and 2, my least favorite. Just don't really enjoy this. Just like kind of porn film, but not titillating in the slightest. All the scenes are quite sort of depressing and unerotic, I would say. And there's some big actors in it, but I don't think they really do the like when there's proper nudity and stuff. I don't think it's really by like Shia LaBeouf or let me see her name, Mia Goth, Stellan Skarsgård. I think it's like sort of stand-ins do the like sex scenes, and then the more famous actors do the sort of sex scenes. But yeah, there was some quite strong stuff. I won't go into the details, but it is quite sort of hardcore. But yeah, just the narrative isn't interesting. It's not filmed in that interesting a way. It's kind of just like, yeah, boring kind of porn film. Without going into too much detail, I don't personally really watch porn and stuff. So if there's stuff in certain films with graphic content, then I don't mind it. But I wouldn't buy this, to be like watch it for any reason other than to appreciate it as a film. And I don't really appreciate it as a film. It has got both 1 and 2 in this, and both of them are equally as boring and what would I say? Yeah, just unerotic. And until if people are actually watching porn to be aroused, then I don't think that's going to do anything for you. Melancholia. Kirsten Dunst, I think was her first film back. Obviously now more recently she's been in Civil War, but yeah, she seemed to go off the radar for a while and then came back with this one. It's well shot. It's got some really amazing cinematography, soundtrack, some really nice shots when basically, as in a spoiler, but the big meteorite thing is in the sky, and yeah, it's just so depressing and slow. And yeah, I might watch it again in the future. It's not the kind of film I'm going to like bin off, but obviously when I've got a collection of directors, even if I don't like these, I'm not going to sort of get rid of them just because I like to have different ones, or as many as possible in the collection of a director's name. But yeah, it's found this quite boring. It is kind of a special edition slipcover with some 6 art cards in, like a HMV exclusive. Um, the Idiots. So this is like a Dogma 95 manifesto. So I think the Dogma 95 manifesto was like certain, what's the word? Not a precursor, like not rules, like a framework put in place where directors would stick to this dogma they could only have, say, a certain amount of actors. There was a certain budget. It'd have to be shot in a certain way. So it's kind of like a kind of community thing of them making it. But yeah, basically this it's kind of sort of disturbing, not in the way it's like gore and stuff. It's just basically, this isn't a spoiler, it tells you this on the back. Didn't mean that to be a catchphrase, but I keep saying that. So basically, these people, it's what they call spazzing out. So this group of like adults go into like, say, a cafe and they pretend to be like disabled, and they'll be like shouting and throwing food around, and then they'll roll around on the floor. And I guess people nowadays do that kind of thing on prank just to get like a public reaction. So it's kind of a bit disturbing in the way that, you know, these people aren't disabled and they're acting it. So it's kind of unfair on people that really are disabled, that get funny looks when they can't help it. And these people are, you know, doing it for like shock value. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting film in terms of sort of pushing the boundaries, and it's sort of challenging, I guess you would say. But yeah, it's not that entertaining, to be fair. And it is one of his earlier first films, I think. This one's a better made film, House That Jack Built. I nearly forgot this was by him when I was ranking these. So all the rest I got together in on the DVD shelf, whereas this is a Blu-ray. Yeah, it's well made and it's got some really strong stuff. Without going too much into it, I'll say the bit with the sort of hunting rifle. It's probably the most sort of not only disturbing but quite controversial, and I'm surprised he sort of. Yeah, I think Lars von Trier is just like, how can I be edgy? What's the most edgy, at least with some of his films, edgy thing I can put in the film without really giving it much context or story. But Matthew Dillon, let me double check. Yeah, Matt Dillon is really good in it. Yeah, some pretty strong stuff. The actual, without spoiling it, it's not just called The House That Jack Built. You do see the house he's built at the end, and it's quite disturbing. All the killings are pretty graphic and like real, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's boring, but it's not the kind of film I'm going to be watching again. I didn't really like the atmosphere of it, and not because it's dark. I don't know, just something about the style of it. Whereas this one, for example, really well made film, is disturbing, but not set up to just be like, right, what's the most controversial thing you can think of? Chuck it in a film, bit like The House That Jack Built, and then build a story around that. It's a good story with some disturbing scenes. Emily Watson's really good in this. Don't think I would say one of the best films ever made, but really entertaining. I think I've said before on a previous video that this is one of my ex-girlfriend's like favourite films. So I bought this for her for like a birthday or something. But see, I won't really read it out. Just have a little check so I don't give any spoilers. But yeah, it's got a good soundtrack, as it says, and it's kind of a bit about like sexual repression kind of thing, I think. A worker, no chance, but not seen it in a while, but yeah, I did quite enjoy it. It's quite. I think all his films are kind of depressing and slow, really. But Dancer in the Dark. So I think I've said before, if people know my channel, I'm really not a fan of musicals, but this is about as good as a musical gets to me. So Bjork obviously is a good musician and quite a sort of experimental, original kind of singer, and obviously I'm sure everybody knows her single, I think it was number one in like the 90s, called, is it called Quiet? Where she's basically singing quietly and then she starts shouting and stuff. But yeah, not only is it actually got some good music and stuff and she performs it well, but she's a really good actress, and it's a really sort of sad, depressing story. So I'm not going to sort of go into the spoilers, but basically she's got like a eye condition where she's losing her sight, and then she finds out, again, this is the spoilers, tells you this on the back, her son is congenital, so he's going to have the same condition. So she's trying to save up the money to pay for an operation for him. So I don't think she can save her own sight, but she's trying to save her son's, and he's quite young in this, probably, I don't know, can't remember, between 5 and 9 or so. And then, again, this isn't really a spoiler, but somebody does something really sneaky and horrible that sets her back on her savings, is all I'm going to say, and then frames her. And then, yeah, the ending to this is not only a gut punch and shocking, but just really depressing. But yeah, it's a depressing film, and a lot of people I know like cry when watching this, but it's worth watching if you're into musicals or Bjork's music in general. It's worth watching for Bjork's performance, because before this I didn't really know she was an actress, but she is really good in it. And in the scenes where she meant to be innocent, she is like real sort of cute and innocent, the way she plays the character. She's got like a lot of nuances. It's a really well made film, but yeah, it is quite depressing. Like Antichrist, this was not so much depressing; it's more disturbing. Some amazing shots. I think this is probably the first Lars von Trier film I've seen. Obviously, I'd heard the notoriety of it before I watched it. And there's obviously like 2 or 3 scenes in this which are very strong stuff and kind of made it infamous, really stand out. But cinematography, there's one scene near the start, without going into too much detail. Um, 2 characters are sort of having sex, and it's quite realistic. And then it's shot in slow motion, and there's this really nice, like orchestral kind of classical music playing. And yeah, the way it's shot and stuff, it is really sort of artistic. But yeah, I mean, if you're not into sort of disturbing graphic content, like it says, containing strong real sex, bloody violence, and self mutilation. So yeah, I'm sure people have heard. I mean, the scissors are a clue to something the woman does in this. Yeah, there's a few strong scenes. Yeah, I mean, it's quite depressing in terms of their coping with like their child, yeah, their son with grief. So he basically has an accident and dies, and they're kind of partly responsible. And the bloke in it, Willem Dafoe, is a psychologist, and his wife's really not coping well with the grief. So they go to like a old cottage. They used to not a cottage, a cabin in the woods. Horror cliche, I know, but done in a different way to take some like respite and solitude. And he tries to work on her psychologically. And when you see a what do you call them? Not just psychologist, counselor. Touch wood, I've not really seen one of those, but I'm sure some people have, and shouldn't be any stigma attached if people do need to sort of need mental help and stuff. But he's basically obviously her husband, so he's like, oh, I can fix you, I'll do your psychology. And once they get out there, she turns quite sort of disturbed, and then sort of tries to hurt him. And yeah, there's a few scenes, like, this isn't a spoiler again, but when they're in their little cabin and you hear all this noise, and it's all the like conkers, I guess they're called, all dropping onto the like metal roof. Is like quite a sort of creepy, surreal. But yeah, it says quite a surreal film. It's a bit kind of took me out of it of slightly. I'm trying to think back. With a fox, so I think it's like a CGI fox, and he sort of turns around and talks, and it's kind of well done. But it kind of, where the film was so serious and grounded, there's a few moments that I guess they're meant to be hallucinating. It's not really happening, so it's not too sort of bizarre. But yeah, it's a well-made film. I can't say you'd enjoy it, but I've placed it up here because it's more riveting than some of these slower, boring ones, and it's probably not as depressing. And I guess, yeah, it's a bit more of a horror film in terms of the gore and stuff. And then my favourite, I say favourite again, this is quite painful to watch, but really well made. Really original film where it's all basically shot, what would you call it? Not like a play, like a theatre play, where it'll all be shot on a stage, and you'll have markers on the stage where people walk, and then you'll have like, what do you call them, like gantries, is it? Where like the cameras roll around. Don't know how he got Nicole Kidman to be in this, because at the time of this, she was still sort of on top, so it's not like a fading actress where he's like, come and degrade yourself for my film. I have heard this is one of, what's his name? I'm having a mental blank. Makes Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs. It comes to me in a minute. One of his favourite films, and obviously he's known as being quite an auteur that's into a lot of like underground films. Yeah, it's got a really good cast. It's really original. Yeah, it says a really well made film. Quite sort of disturbing what they put this woman through. And not only in the film, but I think the way it's shot and it's so realistic, she probably does like suffer in the shooting of it and being uncomfortable and thing. Quentin Tarantino. Yeah, I'd say that's his best made film. Some people might not like it because it's very like rudimental, and when it's shot like on the sound stage and stuff, it's meant to be a place called Dogville, but it's all just like where you would record like kind of, what's the word? Yeah, like a theatre play. Say when people go on Broadway, they just get out on the raw stage and there's not really much scenery or like set dressing. There's not much costume with the people. It's a very bizarre, very original film. But yeah, I'd say it's his best made out of all of these. I think he has got a few more which I don't own. I think he's done one called Kingdom Hospital, which is a series meant to be really good. But yeah, I mean, his later films, like Nymphomaniac, maybe he's had another since, have just become like sexual, kind of boring, unerotic porn films. And don't really like him as a person. Now he's come out with his like Nazi spiel. So yeah, probably won't be getting any more films by him. But yeah, let me know your ranking of these, or if there's any you like or hate or couldn't stomach, or any I've not watched that you think are worth it. Right, thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.